back on Orlando Matters. Great to have you with us. I'm Ryan Elijah. One big goal on the horizon for Orlando's future is to encourage growth that puts the city at the forefront of health and medical sciences through research and also education. Now, medical sector businesses don't just help diversify Orlando's economy and create a breed of new high-tech wage careers. They can make and often do a life-changing difference for the patients they serve. That is the case for a local drug company once again. It was a dream honeymoon for Chris and Michelle Niles, celebrating their marriage in Belize. They spent part of their time at the beach, then traveled into the jungle. That's where they think they were bitten by sandflies, leaving them with a potentially deadly parasite disease called Leishmaniasis. The skin sores did not appear until almost a month later. The Niles went to several doctors, but it was often misdiagnosed. In one case, they were told they had ringworm. It turns out the drug they needed is manufactured right here in Orlando, the same drug that saved a Florida teen last summer. And Michelle and Chris Niles both joining us now, along with Todd McLaughlin. He is the CEO of Profound. And first of all, thanks for all coming in today and talking to us. Let's start with you two. This was the dream honeymoon, and once you came back, when did you know that you were sick?
About a month or so afterward, you start to notice basically a bug bite, and that's all it is. So it doesn't really look like too much, and as it starts to progress, it gets increasingly worse. And then at that point, you start to think, well, maybe I need to go see a doctor about this.
When were you diagnosed, Chris, where you knew this is what you had?
We've self-diagnosed way before anybody else, even were able to talk to us about it. And about a month and a half afterwards, we've been doing a lot of research and ended up talking to Todd on the phone. And it was when I sent him over photos, it was like the clarification that we needed. Like, we figured out what it was, and then it was like, okay, we have this. We just got to get into a doctor to get it.
And if you research that, you know that this is a deadly disease, can kill 30-some thousand people, I think the numbers are. How concerned were you?
Fairly concerned. Obviously, we wanted to act very quickly, and the issue was trying to get a doctor who was aware of our issue. Many doctors in America aren't aware or have even heard of Leishmaniasis. So.
And for those of you that have watched in the past, Todd, of course, your company Profound is here in Orlando, and we've had you on in the past for brain-eating amoeba. Same drug that dealt with this.
Exactly the same drug, but this is actually for the approved indication of Leishmaniasis. All three forms: cutaneous Leishmaniasis, which is what they had; mucosal Leishmaniasis, which basically affects the throat structures; and then visceral Leishmaniasis, which is basically affecting the organs.
When they contacted you, explain that process. What happened after that?
well, Chris gave me a call. And I think he was frustrated and concerned about how to get treated and how to get the product. And so we actually worked with the local Florida Department of Health and basically called them and said, listen, he's having trouble getting diagnosed. Is there some way that you can help? And they actually suggested that we go to the emergency room.
How critical is it that you get diagnosed early and you get taking the drugs as quickly as possible?
Yeah, so this is not as critical as our last patient, Sebastian, for the brain-eating amoeba, but it's important that you get treated early, because obviously the longer that you let it go, the more that the infection is in your body. So you want to get rid of it as soon as you can.
Well, let's talk about the infection. It's painful. It wears you down a little bit. Talk about the sickness that comes on once this happens.
There wasn't so much illness physically, but for us it was flesh-eating parasites. So it was still in the early stages, and it was actually eating our skin. So you could just watch your skin deteriorate over the weeks. But we weren't physically feeling anything other than maybe a little bit tired, and that was it.
And we should say that you think you stayed at the beach and you also then went out in the jungle, and you believe that it was sandflies that probably bit you in the jungle, and that's what led to this.
Yes, most people don't even know that they've been bitten at all, which we did not until about a month later. So.
Todd, are these cases mainly outside of the United States that we've seen?
Mainly it's from people who go travel. We call it tourism travel, that they go to the far parts of the world. But it also affects our soldiers that went to the first Gulf War, for example. So Iraq, Iran basically has a lot of this as well. And so you can get anywhere, but most of the cases that we've seen in the U.S. so far have been related to travel.
And I know we talked before your drug, they were treating this a different way, where if someone had a sore on their arm, it may go away, but you said it's still actually inside of their body.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a scientist, this is a nice parasite to learn about, because it's pretty neat how it works. But it basically lives inside the white blood cell. So things that your white blood cell is usually used to getting rid of infections and killing it. This is a white blood cell that helps it grow further inside your body. It can also lay dormant inside your body as well, and in cases, other cases that we saw, it could be 3, 4, 5 years later that you actually see the results of the infection come to light.
Chris, how relieved were you, one, to find out that there was a drug that could fix this problem for you, but also the drug just happened to be in your hometown of Orlando?
That was the funny part about it. When we were doing all the research and I found Todd, and I called him up and I was like, I looked at the address of where they're at. I was like, what? I was not sure. I was like, I will literally just drive down to your office and get it right now.
2 miles from
obviously the FDA and the drug enforcement will not allow it. So we were very relieved to find the actual drug and to find out, like, it was close by. We had so much help with Todd. Like, he was like, hey, this is what you got to do. This is some of the things you need to make sure that you do so that way it'll curb your side effects or, like, make sure that you can stop the any issues growing further, and then how to get into the doctors and what we had to do from there. He helped out a lot with going through the entire process.
And the process, I believe, is 28 days of medication. Is that correct? How soon then did you think that we're okay and you felt fine?
So like just from what we had, it took us almost 2 weeks to finally get diagnosed, and I think like a week and a half to 2 weeks to finally get diagnosed completely. Well, not diagnosed, we still haven't officially been diagnosed with it from the CDC. They've lost their results a few times. It took us a while to finally get on the drug, and then about 2.5, 3 weeks in, we started to see the changes happen, like where it stopped spreading, stopped growing, the lesions stopped progressing.
And when you see this, what do you want people to know when we talk about this subject and then about the drug?
Well, as in Sebastian's case, when we want people to say when you hear water and headache, think about that it could be the amoeba. We want the same thing here. When you hear someone who's been traveling, who's maybe been to an endemic area. By the way, there's 98 countries that are endemic areas to Leishmaniasis.
We have another patient that was treated as well that is very unique. Meet Wilson and Jonathan Louie, who is Wilson's owner. Wilson's one of our more popular guests we've had in here a long time. People have been stopping and petting Wilson. Wilson had this same issue. Talk about when you knew Wilson was sick.
He did not want to be near other dogs, and he used to go to park all the time, but not anymore. So we took him in, and they diagnosed him with a bacteria. So they gave him an antibiotic. That helped for a couple of days, and then he went back to being the same old and losing weight. So the veterinarian then sent it to 4 other labs that specialized in Leishmaniasis, and it came back confirmed, 100% confirmed on a Friday. So I spent the weekend researching it. And the only 2 drugs that they were talking about were the ones, one of them would actually eventually kill the dog. And then after doing a little further research, we found that there was a drug called miltefosine that would help him and cure him, and it was under the name Impovido. And that's where I met Todd online. I saw his website, put in an application, to get some information, and he called me the next day on my cell, and from there he literally saved my dog's life. We had the medication. Spoke to me on Monday. By Tuesday, we gave him his first dose.
Wow. Todd, what was your reaction when you came in contact with this?
Yeah, so obviously the dog is a beautiful dog, and the story pulls at your heartstrings. But by that time, we had treated about 7 other dogs. So we knew that we had good results with miltefosine, treating dogs with Leishmaniasis. It's
always great having you, and your company's done some amazing things, and it's fantastic that it's right here in Orlando. So thank you again for coming in. Chris, Michelle, it's great to meet both of you. It's great to hear of your story as well.